Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are in the age of the Transformers The Last Night movie. As of this recording, the advanced showings have taken place or are taking place, and I think that Optimus Prime time is supposed to be happening later today, like I said, as of this recording. So we're right on the heels of the opening, and by the time you're seeing this, it's probably already out and open. But what a better time to kind of celebrate that than by looking at the Wave 2 Deluxes of the Transformers The Last Night line. Now I'm not going to look at all of them, but this, as you can see, is Steelbane, and we're going to cover everything to do with this Night of Cybertron in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Check me out everywhere. Have a look at Machinery of Man and the Everything Factor. And why not watch Season 1 of Universal Collision, my stop motion series, up now, as well as spending some time on the page and seeing what it is that tickles your fancy. I'm kind of stumbling over my words a bit. I'm sort of excited because though the the movies have not been masterpieces, I've always had fun, especially with my family, watching these big robots lumber about and smash into each other. It's just one of those fun popcorn movies to me. So I am looking forward to Last Night, and I'll certainly share my thoughts on if I liked it or not when the time comes. I haven't done GotBot Goes to the Movies in a long time. It's probably time to do that. Anyway, Steelbane. So this is the box. Of course, it's our regular boxes. I still think that these deluxes are overpriced at 30 bucks a pop here in Canada. Nope, not worth it. Definitely not. They should have just been on a card back. I get what they were doing with this, but no, I don't see the point if it raised prices by $10. Ridiculous. On the side, he's a Knight of Cybertron. Nice artwork. On the back, we see both modes. And I think he's a Revan. I think that's what it's called. And I think the difference between him being that and a dragon is that a dragon has the wings attached to their back, their spine, and a Revan has it attached to, has the wings attached to their front legs. So this is the box. Nothing super duper spectacular. This is the instruction sheet. It's okay. It's an instruction sheet, not perfect. Now, I just want to address a couple of things really quickly before we get into looking at this guy. And if he will stand, there he is. Now I know he's kind of back there, but that's sort of deliberate at the moment. First things first, here he is next to the Berserker. I looked at Berserker in full in episode 260. Here he is next to Barricade. I looked at Barricade in full in episode 261. I've done a complete overview of what I thought the line would be like in episode 259, actually, and I've really gotten some mixed reactions to that because I think people really want to love these figures more than they kind of deserve. Though he's in vehicle mode right now, there he is with the Voyager class Optimus. I looked at Optimus in full in 272. Now, in this wave, we also get this guy, Slug. This is my custom Age of Extinction Slug, but it's the exact same mold, repainted. If I bought it, I would still do this with it. And I looked at Slug in full in episode 68. A lot of people have asked, how did I put the swords in behind? You can probably see it right there. I stuck it in a space kind of behind his leg where his foot flips in. And I think it works pretty good. It's certainly better than having them off to the side. So all my thoughts about him are there. He's all right. Also in this wave we have Drift, who is now a Mercedes and red and black. Of course, this is my Age of Extinction Drift. I looked at him in full in episode 60. I think that they have improved on this guy for the last night. I like the red and black color better, so his color now honestly gets about a 9 because I think it looks so much better. The transformation is just slightly different. We don't get these pieces flipping behind his legs, and the chest doesn't flip up with his head flipping back anymore. And this whole backpack piece no longer flips around. I feel like what they did is they took this figure, this mold, they refined it, they improved on it with complaints that people had, and gave us a better Drift. Overall, I think the Drift figure, based on my experience with this one, I think the new Last Night Drift figure is probably about a solid 8, 8.5. I think it's a pretty good figure. I don't see me picking it up because I don't see the need to replace the one that I have, to be perfectly honest with you. Could I live to eat my words there? Yeah, possibly. Sure I could. Now, let's get into the main event here that I've sort of commented and covered my thoughts on those guys. And bringing this in a little bit here. So here we have Steelbane. And what can I say about Steelbane? I think that he looks phenomenal in robot mode. I really do. I love the paint apps. I think he looks great. His sword can store on his leg here. Can store on either leg actually. It works just fine on either one. And all you have is a little slot here on the leg, and you have a peg, you know, a horizontal rectangular peg that goes into that slot. The sword is actually, let's take him out of it for a minute, and let's focus on the sword here, if we may, just for a few seconds. I think the sword is amazing looking. I love the sculpted detail. Mine is bent slightly because this is just soft rubbery plastic, so it may bend on you. It wasn't like it had a package. I bent it taking it out of the package, but I think it looks just stellar, just absolutely stellar. Let's take a second here and adjust the camera slightly. Bringing back in Steelbane. Now, paint apps for this guy. A lot of people have complained they don't like the way the weathering was done, like on his legs and his shoulders. They can't get behind it. They think it's kind of sloppy and whatnot. I love it. I feel like the weathering effect that we got on him is nice. I see it as sort of rustic but regal. It's a different color than we've ever really seen. I know that a lot of people might say it's sort of gray or grayish beige. I just think it really pops and it looks very Knight-esque. I love it. I'm giving it a 10. I don't know if this is what the guy looks like in the movie, but just based on my like for it, I'm giving it a 10. It reminds me kind of how each Transformers Prime figure was unique because it had that swirly texture. This sort of reminds me of that sort of idea. Now, that being said, let's get into the articulation. And here's the problem with this guy. The legs are very floppy. These arm pieces are extremely loose. If you saw my look at the Robots in Disguise Starscream, you know that I was not a fan because it was absolutely, positively disgraceful how loose that was. And this guy suffers a lot of the same stuff. There's a lot on this guy that's going to need the floor polish fix, and I'm sorry, but $30 for a deluxe? No, I should not have to do that. I shouldn't have to do anything with them. Again, I've talked about it before. Sometimes I think maybe my expectations are too high, but no. If you're spending your hard-earned money like that, you should not have to, do a fix yourself, even though you can. Does that ruin this guy? Well, let's see here. Articulation. We have the head that can go left and right and up and down. So that's good. That's fine. The shoulders don't go up particularly far. I've really only been able to get them out about this far, but again, he's supposed to be a knight. How mobile would a knight really be? So I'm sort of okay with that. The shoulders could go all the way around if you get the wing and beast arm, I guess, out of the way. We do have a bicep swivel. We have soft ratchets in the elbows. I don't really understand why we would have ratcheted elbows here, but we do have something that we should have had on all the Dinobots in the Age of Extinction line and did not, and that is a wrist swivel. We have a dedicated wrist swivel, which is great because this guy does the same sort of thing of having the claws up on his arms, and he does not have to be gorilla armed. Now that we got all that out of the way, there's nothing at the waist. The legs can go all the way out to the side, which is good. They can go all the way forward like this. I think that's great. They can go all the way back. We have 90 degrees really at the knee. Thigh swivel, though I don't want to turn it too much, and you'll see why in a little bit. And the toes can tilt forward and back, and a little bit to the side. We have ever so slight of an ankle tilt, but he does struggle to stand because these legs are so very, very, very weak. The ball joints are so loose on him, so loose. The articulation is good for what it is. I would give it about a 7.5. Because of the shoulder limitations and no waist. I would give it about a 7.5. But because the ball joints are so very loose, it's got to drop it back to about a 5. Overall, this guy's maybe a 6 in that regard. These wing pieces, they can also kind of fold out and down. These legs can straighten up, but the problem is that it's very easy for these arm pieces to fall off of their ball joints in here. Very, very easy. Too easy for my liking. He looks great on the shelf though. You know, you get the guy, assuming you can get the guy to stand, because he is kind of back heavy. But once you get him stood, he can look really nice on the shelf actually. So let's try and do the transformation for this guy, and that way we can get out of here. So far, paint apps, I'm giving it a 10 because I just love it. Articulation, a 6. If you're gonna get them, be prepared to do a bit of work on those ball joints. That being said, I did use about 3 coats of floor polish on Starscream, and he works fine now according to the scraplets. I'm gonna have to do a lot of work on this guy. So where do we begin here? Well, really, you begin by bending up the arm and bending out those claw pieces, we'll say, that was on his forearm. If the shoulders aren't already down, if the shoulder pads aren't already down, bring them down. Then you bring the shoulders out to the front of the body, basically the sides of the, oh sorry, you don't do that yet. Now that you got that done, you raise up the body so that the head kind of retracts back into it. Then you bring out the shoulder and bring out the shoulder to the front. Right, so the whole body's sort of up over his head. There's his head in there. The Two legs are held together down here, so you open them up and bring this leg all the way up and around. Just like that. And you turn it so that this whole piece that you just brought up is now on the back of the head, we'll say. It's above the body on the back of the head. And you turn the leg like that. You bring the foot up over, and you pull out the beast tail. And that's really the rear side of this guy done. The other leg is out front this way. And we're going to deal with that now as quickly as we can. We're going to get those wings up out of the way. And we're going to fold the body back up now. Now that you have the legs apart. Fold the body back up because that sort of solidifies the main core of the body. Bring these arms down, and if you need to, twist the foot around that way and do the same here. Twist the foot around that way. There's the hind legs done for this guy. These arms here, these beast arms, are on a gray section, a gray armature in here, a whole gray hinge section. Bring that all the way up and over. And now just position those wings however you want out of the way. Now he has four legs, really. And you bring up, next you bring up the, well, actually before you put that down, I guess, it's probably the easiest way for me to show this. Just like we turned this piece back here so now it's behind the head, you now need to turn this leg as well so that it's also up straight. Now you could turn it that way where you have the outside of the thigh facing up, or you could try turning it the other way, but it's really tight because of this hip skirt piece, so I wouldn't particularly advise that, to be honest with you. Now that we've got that done, now bring down those other paws, I guess. And this is kind of what we have now. We're almost there. Take this foot and bring it up, and then behind this leg pull out the head, pull back the ears, and turn the head around. I guess pull it up the rest of the way. And this is what often happens when I transform this guy. This is his leg. It just came right off the ball joint just as easily as that. Just as easily as that. So I'm going to put this back on the ball joint. Because as easy as it pops off, it usually pops on just as easily. And now that I have his head put back in, boom, there you go. You see him in his Revan mode, weird looking mode. Now, mine honestly isn't as bad as some people's because my head will stay up if I push it up all the way. But that being said, don't want to do it now. That being said, it does tend to fall rather easily. It's not doing it now though. Surprised. Color me surprised. His head is staying up. The jaw does open and close. These back legs can, move out to the side because there's arms and back, and you still got the bend up right here that was his elbow, is now his knee. This piece can flex forward because this is the piece that was up on his forearm. The tail, that can move left and right and up and down. The head can move up and down. The jaw opens. I mean, he's full of posability. It's just, you're probably going to pop something off. Now here's the biggest disappointment. A Revan can fly because it has wings on its arms. So you can open it up like that and say open it like that. And I'll just bring this one down, do the same sort of thing. And the idea is basically that you could open them out and he could fly, using them. That's cool. I kind of dig it, but here's the problem. If you don't hold these out, they just automatically fall down. It's not going to stay up. because the ball joint is so loose. You can't really. This one here is even worse. There's absolutely no tension. You cannot. How can I say this? The transformation isn't hard. Okay? The transformation isn't too difficult or challenging. It gives you an interesting alt mode. There's no doubt about it. I would give the transformation, honestly, I would give the transformation, honestly, I would give it a solid, I'm gonna say a solid 8.5. It's pretty interesting and good transformation. I like how the legs sort of split apart the way it does and all of that. By the way, I didn't mention this, so pardon the cut here as I stick this in, but his sword does also store in this mode. You have a little opening up here in the kind of the mid of his back, and you can take the little rectangular peg that was, you know, used for his hip, and you can put it in right there, and it sort of fills out the body a little bit. Just a little bit, but it can certainly go stored in there if you are inclined. I tend to not want to do that because as I bend up his tail, I bend up the sword, and I don't really want to do that. I want to leave the sword in as good a shape as I possibly can. So we have, you know, a 10, a 6, and an 8.5. Overall, this guy is about a 7.5. It's a pretty good figure, but that 7.5 is only if you're willing to do the floor polish fix like I'm gonna do to make this guy good. If you're not, if you're buying this for, you know, a kid fresh out of package and you expect them to get it, just love their new toy and have fun with it, that is not what's going to happen with this guy. They're going to get it, they're going to very quickly lose, you know, a leg, probably this one if it's anything like mine, but it could be the back one. They may very quickly bend up the sword. For a collector like myself, I think that this is about a 6.5 or about a 7.5. It's all right. As a kid's toy for them to play with, this is not very good. It's maybe a 3. And it's only that because of how loose this guy really is. And isn't that a shame? How such loose joints, ball joints specifically, past QC, I will never know, folks. But I'll say this, the guy looks glorious, and I can't wait to see how these knights play out in the new film. Anyway, that's it for this guy. Let me know what you guys think of Steelbane. And as always, I appreciate you dropping by, giving me some of your valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together for another visit right here inside the videos.